Welcome back to the Unanimous Decision Podcast. I am your host, DPalm. Follow me on Blue Sky, Instagram, everywhere you can at DPalm66. Follow the show on YouTube. That's right, YouTube. We're dragging this podcast into 2015, one episode at a time. Follow us there at UDPod66. Brought to you, as always, by Daniel Palmer Mortgages. If you can pay your rent, you can pay a mortgage. It's my job to help you qualify. Make sure you check out my other podcasting venture, Life, Love, and Real Estate. New episode dropped last Wednesday talking about what is home. What is that thing that we all need to keep us grounded? Make sure you also check out, I'm on the insanity check this week. I'm sorry. Sorry, Chris asked, and I was weak, and I said yes. But unfortunately for you guys, I've got a much better guest here today. That's right. We've got the homie Rich Fann. He's been here plenty of times. We talked about everything from Batman to WWE. He works over at the PW Torch and at Post Wrestling. What is going on, sir?
Not much. A lot better after Sunday night because I was not looking forward to coming here with the 2-4 Kansas City Chiefs being a piece of a discussion. Especially after losing to the fighting Tony Khans on what is a play I can fairly describe as something I've seen by my JV players, where a quarterback falls down, everybody just stops, and that sucker gets up and stumbles into the end zone. When I say how angry I was seeing that palm and then seeing literally the same thing on Saturday from my JV kids, like I just walked away. Like
I should have just said chief propagandist. That's what I should have said.
No.
I should have said chief propagandist. Rich Fann, how are you doing? How you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm good. I think for me, it's been a decent season. You know, for those of you who watch the MCU, I consider myself the Ebony Maw of the Kansas City Chiefs. You were just child of Patrick. I am here to herald why this is such a good thing. But no, I can't complain. I mean, even at 3-3 for the football team, they're about to get back their best receiver. The running game sucks, but that's been an Andy Reid staple for like 20 years.
Oh my goodness.
And Chris Jones, when pokes aren't making fun of him for being a loafer is the entire defense in terms of pressure. So I'm not going to complain when that man needs to take a breath, except for when it's freaking the fighting Tony Khans. And I got to deal with folks who never watched a down of football, but because they like AEW, now they got to like the Jags. Talk about my Jags won. Your Jag. Okay.
I think it's very funny. You're a Pitt man. No, you're a Pitt Panther. True?
Yes, sir.
On a weekend where good things happened in that realm. We're going to talk about that in a second.
Oh, yeah.
Where your team on a national stage beat the Lions. You find 2-week-old gripes to bring to the table. I just want that noted for everyone keeping score at home. I've been called a curmudgeon. I've been called lots of things, but I've never found the dark cloud in my sky full of silver linings.
Listen, I learned this from my buddy Nate Taylor, who writes for ESPN now. Congrats to Nate, who used to do The Athletic for the Chiefs. He calls KC fans Tuscaloosa with KC. So it's really just like, hey, I don't know, Paul. We just need to win the AFC West or there are problems, Paul. And so that's it. That's it. And then with Pitt, I told you when you texted me, this is the yearly Pat Narduzzi, you lost to me game, where he beats a guy who is woefully unprepared for the chaos that is Pat Narduzzi's teams when he has nothing to lose because he no longer has stakes, and you still do. We saw it first with Clemson. And, you know, Dabo's still praying about that one. You know, he's just like, you know, some trials for some people. You made me strong, Lord. You made me strong. Okay, great, Dabo. Now pay these players, and then you can actually have a chance at the ACC now. But yeah, I'm a coach by nature, so I'm always going to see what can be better as opposed to what's great, which is terrifying. Now I'm at the age where I remember some of my older coaches saying, like, when I get to the point where I remember the losses more than the wins, you got to get out. I'm not there yet, but I'm starting to that scale's starting to tip.
Yeah.
And I'm feeling awful bad about it, but I'm not, because now I'm becoming old enough where I can be the curmudgeon. When I get the white beard, like every sideline coach you see in college football, that's when I know I've arrived, and I can just be like, get back. And the force of my get back will get them back.
The final form of Rich Fann. But let's talk about what you guys did Saturday. You once again kept FSU from winning an ACC game.
listen.
We're over a year now. It's been over a calendar year since FSU won a league game. I want that on the record.
I don't know when it's like this, when Pitt's on your schedule and you got to deal with the chaos emerald that is Pat Narduzzi. I don't know how you deal with yourself. Like, you got to get something somewhere. I thought that game was really good, but here's the thing that gets me with that game: you have a true freshman starter.
Yeah,
this kid threw how many picks in the first half?
Yeah,
and you
it's
couldn't
tough
stay
ask.
on their throats. Like, that's scary. And Pitt, I can tell you from experience as an alum and a fan of the team, we're not a team that throws a lot of money out. Like, I don't know if you knew this, but just for your listeners to know, Pat Narduzzi is like the store manager at the end of the night, or the manager in a restaurant doling out tips. He's responsible for doling out the NIL money after each game, like
That's
based
hilarious.
on his thought of your performance.
Well, that's all. I kind of like that. Like, it's back to like the old 80s. Like,
Here's your bag, man.
Yeah, I was like, this is taking us back to our
I wonder how he's so
roots.
good at it. Right. Michigan State never had this happen. Never. Not in that dojo.
He's essentially Bruce. Bruce, get the payouts. I think it's cool that Pitt had such a good weekend when the other team in the state had such a bad weekend, and we'll get to them in a second. But I want to use my little opening of the podcast free space to address the Auburn Tigers.
Ooh.
Because in a way, Pitt is the Auburn of Pennsylvania. You're the second team in the state.
Mm-hmm.
Except, unlike Alabama, you're not a talent-poor state. Also, unlike Alabama, you're not broke. Except for, Huntsville, where there's such good German food. Isn't that weird?
It's super weird.
You guys should probably Google Project Paperlip. I've never told a joke.
It's 3.
Auburn. You're a second school in a talent-poor state. You moved this game because you were tired of losing to us and Bama back-to-back. That was a fumble. And who amongst us doesn't lie to refs and cops? 9 in a row isn't a rivalry. It's a tradition.
Hey, listen, I saw your reaction to something that happened a couple of weeks ago we won't bring up. And I thought it was measured, and I wish I had your patience. I did not. I do not. And so seeing Auburn do what they did, you're right. And the only thing I would say comparing them, because I got a quick story, it was, I want to say 7 years ago, we had a game, and the coach from Penn State showed up. And he didn't show up for our players. He ostensibly said he was coming to the game to see our players, but he somehow spent more time chatting with the other team that we beat, but he wanted their player. And so he's like, oh yeah, well, I like that defensive end over there. I want to check him out at this game. Let me just get a little pass. And I'm like, I'm doing end zone, setting up the camera and doing all this stuff. Got my headset. I'm like, why is James Franklin on our sideline? Oh, he's like, he must not have had it. Like, just the weirdest freaking thing. And so when I saw the news that he was no longer gainfully employed, and I don't know if you saw the news thanks to ESPN, that Jimmy Sexton's fallen off a little bit, and the amount of money they were reporting about his buyout is woefully lower, given if he gets another job as offset language like an NFL coach.
And go do TV.
He's not going to do TV. He's going to have a point to prove.
No. Okay, hold on. Let's talk about this right now. So, for those who don't know, James Franklin got fired this week.
I mean, people would say he got fired a few weeks ago, and it just caught up to him now.
If you don't know and you found this podcast, that's weird. I'm glad you're here, but that's objectively weird. James Franklin was the coach at Penn State for 12 years, 13 years, and was fine. He was fine. His problem came in the big games. He was 4-21 against top 10 teams, 1-18 against top Big Ten teams that were in the top 10. The Big Ten being a Ponzi scheme. They seem to be on the winning end of that Ponzi scheme a lot, and it worked. It was fine. And they had the whiteout at home, and they lost a double overtime game in Oregon, and that was fine. Then they go and they lose 2 at UCLA, who at that point into the season had not led for a second in college football. 1 second.
And didn't they also have their coach fired?
Not just their coach, OC, DC, everybody gone. The guy calling plays had never done it before, was pushing the wrong buttons and not speaking to the microphone. And by that guy, I mean Jerry Neuheisel.
I mean, it's terrible. I mean, hey, man, nepotism, heck of a drug.
He did it. Look, sometimes it works out. Kyle Shanahan, it works out sometimes. This appears to be working out with Neuheisel. I'm just saying it did occur. But yeah,
does he have a guitar in the booth like his dad?
So let's talk about this. Do you think, and because, yes, maybe he got fired because of the UCLA game and then got super fired because he lost Northwestern at home, which, did you know it was homecoming?
I did. I loved it so much. It's like, hey.
Like, as a sadist, like, as a human being, don't love it. That's sad. As a sadist,
this is when it needed to happen. In front of everybody.
If it was going to happen, like if he was going to slowly lose the job, better lose it this way because he lost it quickly and fast and in a hurry. Do you? I guess because I'm kind of in the place of like you look at what college football is, you look at like, and we're going to talk about Indiana in a second, but you look at kind of what can be done in this landscape, and you kind of see that this is the guy who shepherded you from the worst thing we've seen out of college football in the last 15 years. Bill O'Brien was there for a season, but then it was James Franklin who modernized this program. My question for you, Rich, you live in the area, you know these people. Who do they think they are?
Well, I don't know if you heard him, but I did because I was off today. And I accidentally heard him. I was about to play Ghost of Yote, and I had left ESPN on. But Stephen A. Smith had verbal gym. Oh, just wait for it. This is as pick up your pants as one would assume.
Oh, no.
Post Jopa, James Franklin was given a position that very few black people ever would be given. And it was his duty to uphold that position. And as a result, him losing is not only a loss for Penn State, but a loss for the importance of the role with which he was given. And that justifies Chicago being run through by state troopers and ICE. Like that's Stephen A. Smith has gone super Republican on ESPN. That's what I'm saying. That's where we're at right now. He said it was an affirmative action hire that he said those words that needed to be justified, and frankly didn't justify it. And Molly Curum's not there anymore to be like, you're full of crap.
Okay, so I'm trying to respond in a way that doesn't make me delete this podcast. Okay, that's all garbled horse shit. And my opinion on his opinions are bad. I don't think he's a good person. I think he's a bad person with bad opinions. I think his morals are wrong. And I think this is not an evolution, but more a revelation of who he's always been. That being said, let's talk about James Franklin. Not the coach, not even the idea, but kind of the results that were this year. Like when you look at kind of what they were touted to come in as, what they said that, hey, here's what we have. My question is, it goes back to, who do you think you are? You haven't won a national title in 40 years. You haven't been nationally relevant in 25. So like this idea of Penn State as the birthright of this thing, you know what they are to me? They're LSU, but like worse. Because LSU, you got to remember, LSU was a dog shit program.
Yeah.
Until Nick Saban got there. Nick Saban gets there. He transforms the program because honestly, he was like, black people, they're not as racist as they were. Like that's what he did. And it worked. And then since then, you've seen a lot of talent flow through LSU. But even at their best, like they peak out every 5, 10, 12 years with the title. But by and large, they're a 9-win program. Penn State's 9-win program, which is propped up by the fact for years, the rest of the Big Ten was dog shit, due strictly to the ability of these schools to spend. But now the spending's in the open. And the playing field's not level, but guess what? You're too deep. Who's waiting to play? Nah, he's getting burned over in Indiana. You're a junior, redshirting, so he can maybe get a shot next year for 1 year starting. Nah, man. He transferred to Iowa because he wants to run the ball. The built-in benefits, and as a Georgia fan, seeing it at Georgia, you see it. When late in games, or like the entire first half of games, the defense looks very unimpressive, and then they seem to turn it on. I don't know what that is, but part of it's depth. Part of it is maybe these guys saving themselves because we don't have the too deep of NFL talent that they had 5 years ago. Things have changed. The game doesn't change. You got to change with it. And because of who Penn State thinks they are, I question their ability to really come to grips with the reality of, hey, man, you've got passed by Indiana. You're regularly passed by Michigan. You're never going to touch, really, Ohio State ever.
Well, they tried by buying their defensive coordinator.
Oh, man.
Because, again, they're thinking about old rules.
You know how good the Ohio State talent is? And not saying, who's the defensive coordinator? Rowe?
Mm-hmm.
You're not saying he's a bad coach, but Matt Patricia looks like a genius right now because he's got the best players in the country.
Knowles,
thank you. Mm-hmm. Knowles isn't a bad coach, but he doesn't have the same players at Penn State. So the results are going to differ.
And that goes back to what you were saying a second ago. Mm-hmm. We've seen Ohio State win a national championship, so some kids are willing to be on the two deep, just like they'd be willing to be on the two deep for Georgia because they've been in 3 of the last 4 of the last 5. And so because of that, you're not going to make that risk with Penn State.
And that's the thing, is it was really a risk, and it remains a risk because there are no direct flights to Happy Valley.
Mm-hmm.
And you can say, oh, you can build these things anywhere. And sometimes you can. But when you do that, you generally tend to get lucky and take a bargain, like Mike Elko going to A&M.
Mm-hmm.
He's only there because Stoops' buyout from Kentucky was too high. They couldn't get him. They couldn't afford him after paying off old buddy.
Listen, if I was being petty, I was going to disagree with you and say, based on the current SEC, I would liken Penn State closer to the Sumlin era Texas A&M. They like wearing white, and they're weird. They are really weird.
You know who they are?
They're
South Carolina.
There it is.
They're South Carolina. They don't realize who they are. They think they're a 9-win team, but no. You're a 7-win team who used to be inflated by playing Vanderbilt every year when there was the East-West. Bring back divisions. This is getting weird. But yeah, I think. What do you think about this? When you heard the news, was it like a big shock for you, or was this something that kind of locally you kind of felt coming all for a while now?
Well, see, and it's weird because, like, just with my son, for instance, he has a kid on his hockey team who, God bless his parents, practice and come up to Pittsburgh from Happy Valley.
Oh, wow.
3 times a week. They homeschool him, which is already like, okay.
Yeah.
But traveling 3 hours each way, 3 days a week. So to your plain point, how are you getting into Happy Valley outside of driving in a flight to a drive?
Thank you.
That's already strike one, but it's the magic, the idea. And so the folks I know that are Penn State alum, they are completely realistic and they understand that this sucks and this was going to happen because Franklin got to the point it was Lowell, big game lost, and now it's, oh crap, he's losing the little ones too.
Someone said that this was the monkey paw version of I wish James Franklin would stop losing big games. It was That's like, fine, he's going to start losing the little ones.
And so for them, it's like last year, I think the blessing and the curse, and I thought we'd talk about this at some point last year, of the playoff is it gives a lot of teams hope that don't deserve it. And this is one of those teams. They thought, hey, we were a minute away. We were going to do it. Let's just double down. We'll pay some extra money. We'll get the DC from Ohio State. We're going to pay for this one kid. We're going to make sure Aller's going to be the best quarterback ever.
Oh, buddy.
Aller's out for the year. Defensive coordinator's
Aller wasn't great when he was in there.
Listen, they were holding.
That's that fool's goal. That's that y'all not doing enough self-scouting. You need a better internal scouting department.
I was going to say he's like their Nate Peterman.
Oh,
But that's cruel to Nate Peterman because
that's mean
he
to
made it to the
everybody.
league. I think Drew's going to make an awesome tight end.
He'll be. Well, let's talk about. Geez, that was mean as shit. Let's talk about the rumored name, and it's a name that 10 years ago you'd be like, "Who is this guy? How could you even think he could make this leap?" But we saw him make the leap to Indiana and transform that program in the span of 2 years. Curt Cignetti, he's a Penn State alumni. He met his wife at, or like I believe he played there. Like it's the word's out there. That and the Matt Rule thing. Matt Rule is one where I think like this is where you get to who do you think you are?
Mm-hmm.
Because Matt Rule has done it. Like I'm not going to sit here and poo-poo Matt Rule's record because it didn't work in the NFL. Matt Rule is a proven program builder. But what you have is built. Like that's one thing you say about James Franklin's tenure is he updated the infrastructure of that place to where it's a modern football program. They've still never had a cool football player come through there, not once. But they are a modern NCAA Big Ten program.
Mm-hmm.
Does Matt Rule going there signify that you think you're still building? Because we've never seen him take a team to the mountaintop. We watched Curt Cignetti take Indiana, and this is also like a huge presupposition that Cignetti would even entertain the offer. I think he could be king in Penn State. He's God in Indiana.
Yeah, and he's on about the same amount of money too.
Yes, that's the other.
So
thing.
It's not like, why would I want more stress for probably less money relative to what my stress is? That's what personally for me and Cignetti, I can tell you as a person that at the time that was my freshman year, his last year as an OC was my freshman year at Pitt. He is a guy that from the time I got there as a freshman, then he leaves to when I became a volunteer assistant, has been a consistent person next to Bam in terms of a guy they wanted. Like he's a Pitt man, bring him back. So Western Pennsylvania always has love for all the Cignettis, Frank, Kurt, Jim Bob dances with, like all the Cignettis are good here. And so I think he's fine. But going to Happy Valley, I mean, I think it's not the best move for him. Stay in Indiana.
It's a lot of stress for not a very little. The reward is win or don't, like win or, and it's weird because they're trying to apply Bama standards, but you're Penn State. It's like either win or we'll run you out of town. It's like, sir, this is a Wendy's. You had Joe Paterno out there for years doing nothing.
Even in college football 26, I would be like, no, thank you. When you see the amount of things you got to get done, nah, I'm good. Let me try with.
And I think that's the other big thing here is that this is the first, and I'm guaranteed not the last, hire where it feels like the money fired you. And not saying it shouldn't have been done, not saying it shouldn't have been done now. I'm not going to sit here and defend James Franklin's abysmal record in games that we could see. The regional networks, he did great on those. But the second he went national, like, stop looking at me. I'm not going to defend him or his record. I am going to defend the process or attack it maybe. I don't know. Words are hard. If the response, which is seemingly coming out, was we will not give the same money to support this same result. You pair that with the reports. I don't know if you saw this. People are trying to get booster insurance for the money they give. But if they don't get the results, they get some sort of payout. Guys, the point is the spending. You don't go to Vegas and say, I hope I don't lose any money. And that's what this is, guys. You're playing big boy Vegas. You know why Southern schools are so good at college football and have been for years? One, it's a talent because it's a sport you can play year round because there is no real winter. But two,
the inherent distribution of slavery and how that in post antebellum United States led to a lot of redistricting of black folks. I'm sorry.
I wasn't going to say that one.
I had to say it for you.
That's two then. Number three is that these folks down here cap out when they start making real money. So let's say you got a lot of money in the South. You got a nice place in whatever city's closest to you. You've definitely got a mountain cabin, probably got a lake house, and maybe a beach house. But you keep making money, and you got to find somewhere to spend it. The fun thing you buy when you're that rich isn't a boat, it's a couple recruits. And they made it legal, which took some of the thrill away. I'm not going to lie, it made it weird. But now, with all this knowledge, you want to say, I'm scared of losing money? Baby, the thrill is the point.
It's funny to me because I wish someone would take the time to do a book on comparing college football and boosterism to owning a team in the Premier League or one of those soccer because that's what it is. You're right. Like it's not for you to make a sustainable model. It's a sign of your wealth. Look at that guy. I paid for that guy.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
You're not out here trying to moneyball it. You want Ronaldo. If you want Ronaldo, you're going to pay $20 million a year for Ronaldo.
If you want results, go get a boring stock. If you want to have fun, go buy a race car. And sometimes your race car also carries a football.
Listen.
That's the point.
There's so much. Like, I saw a picture of this gentleman in an airport. He like fell to his knees in front of a crypto ATM machine. And that sounds like these boosters. You knew what you were getting into.
This funny money is too funny.
Right. How dare you? Like, what? I am appalled that I can't get a refund on this spirited bet I made. No. Like, if you told me that I put, I don't know, $2 million in, because that's chump change, on like a kicker, and the kicker shows up on campus and he's kicking left and right, and then I want him gone because he misses an extra point, I would like my $2 million back too, let alone a 10, 12, $13 million quarterback.
I'm sorry. The fact that you said kicker means that $2 million was spent in the weirdest way possible. Kickers are the weirdest people in the world. And yeah, that's a very funny image you just put in my head. Before we move on out of college football, I do want to mention this. Trent Dilfer was fired by UAB finally.
I was hoping we get to talk about this.
So Rich is laughing, and I say finally because, and this is a true fact, I looked it up. The time between road wins under Trent Dilfer is longer than the time that UAB didn't have a program.
That's it. That's the stat.
That's the stat. They went from a road win to not having a program to restarting a program to another road win. And the time it's longer than today's date to the last road win under Trent Dilfer.
Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. He said he knew everything about football. Like
ridiculous. What a joke.
You win one Super Bowl off the back of Ray Lewis. And
did you know the Ravens have given up more points this season than they did that entire Ray Lewis season?
Yeah.
That's disgusting. Let's go to the NFL, though. I don't want to talk about results. I don't want to talk about I do want to talk about Miami.
Oh, boy. Which part? Because there's so many pieces to this now. Especially after the press conference this morning.
That's it. I want to talk about Tua. Okay, guys. So Tua Tagovailoa. Oh my God, I did it. Has been the quarterback for the Dolphins for a while now. They brought in Mike McDaniel basically for his ability and thought that he could maximize Tua's talents. He did for a while Tua was healthy and while everyone else was healthy, and while no one realized that Tyreek Hill was a horrible human being, horrible person. But it didn't work because Tua got hurt a bunch, and now everyone's kind of it's the end of the story. It's the thing we covered last Friday with Felder, which the reason we're not talking about UNC today is because Felder's coming back on Friday. Where everyone's abandoning ship, the Raptors sinking ship. That's this, and now you've got Tua in front of cameras saying that we have a leadership problem on this team, which means one of three things. I think it means all three, honestly, when he said it. He either means his boss, Mike McDaniel, or he means his boss's boss.
Greer.
Chris
Greer?
Yes, Chris Greer, thank you. Or he means himself. I honestly think he means all three.
Yes.
I think because you know what he did in that press conference? He owned all three of those picks. He didn't say anything about his comeback being – because guess what? The end of that game, that was a fucking drive.
Yeah.
He put together a fucking drive and had them positioned to win. Defense gave it up at the end. That's kind of the naughty secret about this Dolphins team is our offense is actually pretty good. The defense is dog shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the secret. But yeah, what did you think of that? And I say this to you as obviously a fan of like all things that we're talking about here, but also like as a father and as like a leader, as a coach, like to have someone inside your organization. Like it's one thing to have that conversation in a locker room or in a meeting room. To dump that on the lap of the media, and maybe this is me being an old person, but if this happens with like a LeBron James or a veteran, one of those vets on the Panthers for Florida in hockey, I would say, okay, well, this is at least they've done everything they could inside. This is a measure. This is a move. With Tua saying it this way, and then Mike McDaniel immediately being like, Tua's out of line. It just feels messy and gross and weird. I feel like we're recording this at 9:15 on Monday night, the 13th of October. The Falcons are currently beating the Bills, and I expect them all to trick you all, you fools, you fools. They're all still employed as of right now. That may not be the case by the time this posts tomorrow morning. Rich, just kind of like, as a coach, man, what the hell?
Well, I mean, if you watch the video of McDaniel, his reaction is not one of something I would expect out of a head coach, because the way he's talking is a beatnik at a hookah bar that is confused about his latte order, as opposed to the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company explaining why his CFO decided to blame everyone for the recent quarter's results. And I think it was a fair thing. I think some of the ex-players who said this isn't the time or place or forum, and then for his head coach to say it wasn't the forum, I get it. But the thing that stood out to me was, and this is where I think you're right about all three levels, the biggest thing that seemed issue for Tua was not only guys not showing up to the players-only meeting, being late. And then he had to say, which is the 3-alarm fire in my head, do I have to make this mandatory? For those of you who aren't sports fans or haven't participated in a sport, typically when it's a players-only meeting, it's understood you should be there. If someone has to outline you need to be there, you're probably already ready to be off the team. You're telling your agent, like,
that's a culture issue.
Yeah.
If we can say, hey, we as players are coming together, and you can say, nah, I'm not.
Or I'll get there when I get there.
Which is NFL guys aren't college guys, aren't high school guys. So like the promptness, I understand. Like, yes, you and I, yes. Yeah. Them probably, yeah, I'm gonna give a little leeway there.
But the fact that he said it happened multiple times, that's what bothers him.
Well, you know what bothers me? Multiple players only meetings.
Yeah, like that. I was like, wait a minute. So the first one didn't take.
There.
The fifth one didn't take. The seventh one, I gave him a pen of where I was and where we should meet. Like
at a certain point, they're just not listening to you. Like just.
And I get from the head coach's perspective, you want it to be kept in house, but in house hasn't been a thing for Miami since we heard about the stuff going on with Tyreek Hill. Because that stuff, like, it's just egregious. And then now, and I'm not even talking about, like, let's separate Tyreek being a horrible human being from Tyreek being a horrible teammate. Because he still had not made good from the, I guess I got to get out. Well, it's time for me to hit the dusty trail. And Tua called him out on that. And again, Mike was like, I don't know. I don't think it's a good idea to tell him to be a good teammate when he basically set fire to everything.
Yeah.
He's got all of the brilliant play calling that the 49ers have maximized. The Broncos should have maximized a little bit more when he was there, as should have Washington. But clearly he's missing the people skills. And honestly, much like a certain wrestling promotion, the temerity to tell folks sometimes this is the way it's got to be.
I just like, honestly, I don't know if that's what, I know it's easy with the perception of it.
Yeah.
For me, looking at the results in the offense, like kind of that's what he was brought here to do. I look at the decision making and like the fact that Chris Greer is the longest tenured GM in the NFL who has never won a playoff game. Like, you look at the talent on the defensive going into the season. We all said, like, this is really bad. And so, like, for me, yes, it's probably some of that too. Maybe Mike McDaniels, he's like a Brian Flores, who probably is a fantastic DC and maybe not a head coach. But the problems with the Dolphins right now is that their defense is unspeakably fucking bad.
Yeah.
They couldn't stop me and you. And so, particularly in a 2-minute when there's no, like, if you got to think quickly, sorry, guys, it's a wrap. So, like, watching the Chargers, and, like, that's why I, like, try to give a little bit of grace there, because, like, watching the Chargers march down in your defense after doing that work to win that game and it just not mattering has to be insanely maddening.
And it's tough because for the folks unaware, the Dolphins defensive coordinator is Anthony Weaver. Mm-hmm. Weaver was a defensive lineman by trade. He was, I think, originally Houston. Then he went to the Ravens as a wave guy. So I figured, and then I think he assisted at Buffalo for a little bit too. I figured he would understand, like, it starts up front. Let's build this line. And they spent some money. They got a Jalen Phillips. They got some pretty good pieces, but it's not working. Then you trade for Fitzpatrick back. See,
and that's what I'm talking about with the Chris Greer thing. Like, that's where I'm like, hey man, maybe there are lots of problems downstream. However, the man selecting the pieces that we're working with has not been doing his duty.
No, I mean, I look at that linebacker core, and it's like, I mean, if any of you guys want to do this is what I'm a sicko. This is what I do in my spare time. If you just go to our lads and look at depth chart by position.
Yeah,
you got Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb. Both of those guys were chasing money, not necessarily needing stats at this point in their career. Jalen's done better than Bradley, but Bradley's been injured all the time.
Bradley's been hurt a lot. Yeah.
Matthew Judon was great in Atlanta, but then you sign him, and now he's second string. Is he going to fight for anything? Nope. And you know who else isn't going to fight for anything? Chop freaking Robinson, because he just came from Penn State, and he knows how this works. Get paid, shut up, and I'll be good.
Like I said, not a big Chris Greer fan over here. Before we get out of here, I want to talk about two more things. You live in Pittsburgh. Fool's Gold, or what are we talking about?
Fool's Gold. Okay. For like Pitt in general, or
no, Pittsburgh Steelers, sir.
Oh. I was like,
no,
I'm having a flashback. I was like, I told you it's iron pyrite. I know what that is. Like, okay, so Pitt, I think Pitt is going to be the funniest 1 seed in the history of the AFC, because it's going to be between them at this point in Indianapolis.
It's the Colts,
and it's so good.
I'm writing a movie right now. I want
the Chiefs to be the 7th seed.
I'm writing a movie right now. It's called Angels in the End Zone, and it's drunk Jim Irsay's angel helping Taylor Jones be a feasible quarterback.
Just like giggling, it's like, what if we sprinkle it here?
It makes no sense otherwise.
Why does our running back look like he just snorted 3 lines? No, never mind. I respect it.
I can feel like Jim is here.
Just sneezing. People on the side. There's a little kid in the 30 that's just shaking uncontrollably. I got some of Mr. Irsay's magic dust. Oh,
please find Rich at PW Torch and Post Wrestling.
I was on cold medicine. Isn't that what Jim said? I was on cold medicine and I made bad decisions. That's why I have $15,000 in my car. I can't use that excuse too.
Before you get to the pills, that's just the money.
Forget about the pills. The pills don't exist. If the money exists, the pills.
Why you asking questions about the pills?
Yes.
I got the prescriptions here somewhere. Don't ask all these questions.
But no, I think Pittsburgh is.
They still trying to run my man out of town?
No, I mean always.
Okay.
This is one of those things where it's like, Cowher would have had them with more wins by now.
Oh my goodness!
Really? They have more wins. Yeah, and every time I see that, like my eyes roll in the back of my head, and I just keep it moving. But I think going into the playoffs, the Steelers are going to be tough because the defense is tough.
Okay.
And the AFC North is so putrid right now that they're not going to have the usual smash mouth, broken 3 players en route to get into the playoffs. But there's a big problem in the peyote ingested man at quarterback, because he still don't like getting hit. We don't see it as much because he could throw it to DK Metcalf every other play, or it's Calvin Austin III. But he still has those plays when I watch. Like I watch with my son and my wife. Anytime those guys get near it, it's still YOLO ball. And it's just that the YOLO balls are being caught. And they're a more palatable YOLO ball than Russ's moonshots because of the temperament and pigmentation of the quarterback, if you will.
Last thing before we get out of here. Speaking of pigment and of quarterbacks, we may have a 3-alarm fire in New York. Jackson Dart with wearing a chain, dancing on people. Cam Scatterboo doing all the fun running back things, but he's a white guy, so it crosses into some other territories. They may have found there that this must end, or it's got to control real fast.
I'm just waiting for them to fire their head coach and to make.
This is how you keep your job.
No, they got to make the Italian Stallion their interim head coach.
Stop.
And just get maximum.
No,
just if you want to see.
I was trying to really talk about the benefits and dangers of Cam Scatterboo becoming the face.
No, Cam Scatterboo. I love Cam Scatterboo. But Jackson Dart, here's the thing. I am not a member of the SEC. I am not a card carrying member. But y'all messed up letting that dude go to Ole Miss and hang out with the folks he did.
You know where Jackson Dart's from?
Sigma. He thinks he's a Sigma.
You know where he's from?
Sick of it.
Do you know where he's from?
No.
Utah.
So you get this dude from.
They done liberated.
Anytime when I was at Pitt and we had in the Divine Nine, like the white Sigma coming through, like the white Q, like very rarely white Q,
very rarely.
But like he would be the white Sigma, and he would be.
I don't know what he is. I just know that they let him hang out in Oxford too long in the wrong places, and now this is what y'all have, and we've got to deal with it as a nation. Because when I saw
him play against the Chiefs, because they secretly have been pulling Russell Wilson in between, like they were doing the stuff we do in high school. Don't worry about it, son. We're just getting him a couple of snaps. And then he pops in. And I was like, this dude got a chain the size of my fist dangling outside of his jersey in the middle of the game.
It's true.
And then he's got the full like Jesus cross, like the stuff. Again, I got to tell my players only laterally. You can't go vertical. The ref's gonna tell you to get out because you got the. It's like I got to show him I love Jesus. I was like, okay, the sentence you just said. Let's talk about that later. But let's just wipe that. That's what Jackson Dart did every time I see him. And now I haven't heard him talk yet. I've seen his handshakes and all the different daps he does for touchdown, and the fact that he scored enough touchdowns that I could see multiple versions of
right.
Like the Giants, and this is with them losing their best receiver. So it's just all about white flight and a dream right now. Like this is a New Jersey fan's
This must
dream.
be stopped.
If this were during the Sopranos playing, Tony would have been like, hey, look at this guy.
Staten Island's own New York Giants.
Yes. Like, remember they listen, when the Jets were not mediocre, they had a scene where it's like, hey, it's that man genius, come over here.
I remember.
And I was like, let me get this straight. Eric, you were okay going in there and letting a mob boss like validate your coaching existence? Like at least when Jerry showed up on Landman, it's like legal theft and land stealing and wage theft and all this stuff. You really I got validated by a mob boss.
You got to remember, even Eric Mangini knew who he was. He knew it wasn't going to last. But forever, he's going to be on The Sopranos. Rich, will you do me a huge favor and tell everyone where they can find everything that you do, my friend?
Sure. If you tolerated this, please find me on The Torch. I do everything with Rich Fann and Wade Keller, my editor publisher. We talk about literally everything. So we start with wrestling and jump to other places. I also do a mailbag there with my buddy Josh. It's sometimes fun. I've had Deep Palm on over the years at my original show, which is the Deep Dive with Rich Fann. That's kind of been sort of retired because I'm like, right now I'm out of time. I don't know what life is right now. And then over at the Post Wrestling, I don't deal with wrestling. I got bosses over there that pay me good money to cover the DCU and MCU now. So in addition to MCU later, I'll also do DCU later, where this week we're going to cover Peacemaker Season 2 and how I didn't know the John Cena retirement tour extended to television and how much better he is there than at times in the ring, except for that match with AJ Styles, because AJ Styles is forever and awesome.
That was awesome. Thank you. That's a very professional outro. That's it, guys. We're going to be back again on Friday with Felder. We're going to talk about anything that happens this week at UNC. You're going to get his thoughts on the James Franklin situation and kind of the changing landscape of college football and the way it's going to play out with coaches and all this here money. That was your show. There is no outro, but if you stick around for a second, I got a couple wrestling questions to ask Rich. Because, Rich, we've recently seen Paul Levesque attempt to rebrand himself as the Dana White of professional wrestling.
Including hanging out with,
including but not limited to.
Yeah.
What downs we've also seen numerous talents either not have their contracts or agreements renewed, and also some talents walking away from extensions. What do you think this does to the landscape of professional wrestling as we continue to see it shift heading into 2026? Let's ignore the Warner Brothers cell merger stuff. Let's ignore some of this larger stuff so we can focus just on the product in the ring.
I think on the product in the ring, they're making calculated risks in releasing wrestlers they feel like they've invested time in and they won't get a return on investment. And they also assume that same group will not get signed by AEW and get presented as a fumble situation. All the folks they released, for instance, Kylie Ray, who was in a WWE ID deal, who was on the Indies, she was a little bit older. She had a kid. She had been in AEW, and then for reasons mysterious that I am not allowed to speak about or legally say,
None of us are. She just
disappeared. And then she showed up in the Indies, and everyone's like, yay, Kylie's back. And then she signed to a WWID deal, and they said, oh, my God, you sell out. How dare you get money for your child? And so I think this just allows more wrestlers to get paid. You know, you have Santos Escobar. He turns down a deal. He's a free agent. This is like perfect NIL money corollary.
Yeah.
He's a free agent for literally a day in the transfer portal, and he comes back for more money and a financial apology for the offer they gave him. And that's how it's supposed to work. If you're not going to use me, or you're going to use me sparingly, or if I want more say in my use, I need the pay to be commensurate to that. So it forces you. We've seen that in the past with wrestlers like Ron Killings. When he got released, there was a big Save Our Truth campaign. He got back for about the same time contract-wise, but a lot more money. And I think that's a fair thing for everybody. Same thing with AEW. There are a lot of folks that's either secretly re-signed or re-signed in the last few months, and that's good for them. But the biggest joker to fall in the game of spades they're playing is probably old January 6th Jericho, because he is a free agent as of January, and he should be going in the Rumble. And the way they mentioned his moves and him as opposed to other AEW folks during the Cena
noticeable
match. Yeah, so I think they're going to pay him a lot of money to jump, just like they paid Cody a lot of money to jump. And same thing with AEW. If there's a person they like and they feel like would be a good fit, if WWE doesn't want to learn how to use Javon Evans, that dude's going to cross the line.
I think we've been lied to by AJ Styles, one. And two, I've got a sneaking feeling that, you know, it's something he would do. But two, I think you're right about everything you're saying. I think that the landscape shifting is one thing. And I think that's going to be, like you said, an opportunity for people to make more money, hopefully across the board. And I want to ask this before we get out of here.
Yeah.
Do you think the financial decisions by the WWE are going to dramatically have downstream implications because they've been making more and more of an idea of maximizing their profit on these shows? For example, AEW is coming to Atlanta December 10th, I think. On a whim, I bought 3 tickets, decent seats for about $150. I'm taking 2 of my best friends. I couldn't do that if it was Raw. I couldn't do that if it was a PLE. If it's a PLE, I'm sending you text and Cam text and be like, hey, who do I know that's wrestling adjacent who might pull some strings for me?
Yeah.
Calling in favors. Just know that's coming eventually at some point as the kid gets older. But seriously, do you think that these price points, at a certain point, they're going to see the market shift and reflect kind of the decisions that they've made? Is that going to be buffeted by their decision to spend more time overseas?
Absolutely, because the fans overseas are showing a fervor that the American audience really can't, because it isn't a rarity for them. And so as a result, you don't have this need to pay the money for this experience like you do when you go abroad. Additionally, when you couple that with how much money they're making in Saudi between the Royal Rumble and
Ugh.
WrestleMania in the next 2 years. They have the financial largesse. I would think in a perfect world, but I know we don't live in a perfect world for a multitude of reasons. You would still leave it open to the family. But when their CEO is saying Vince McMahon's biggest mistake was catering to families, you're cutting off. It's just like when we think about college football or college sports. It's built not just on the backs and the money of the middle to older age fan, but getting the younger folks in there and learning the tradition, learning the pride.
Addict them early. Yeah, it's the Marvel method.
Yep. And they don't want to do the Marvel method. They want to say, let's stick with these high earners and burn them out and make as much money as possible because profit. I don't think that works in the long run. And the sad part is, on the other side, AEW, while they're doing it from affordability standpoint, it isn't because they want to stick with families. It's because they need butts and seats.
Guess what? Whatever it takes.
Yep.
I don't care how we got there. I'm glad I was able to. It was like $38 a ticket, and it's where the Dream plays, so it's not a big place. So it's not a bad seat in the house. Like, I'm very excited about this night. And if you see me out there, no, you didn't. I'm just kidding. Rich, man, thanks for coming on. Thanks for taking a little extra time talking some wrestling with me. It's been a while since I got to talk about Graps, brother.
Hey, always, man. It's a pleasure, and I'll try to figure out at some point, definitely during the since they moved Wonder Man to January. See if you're free at some point for that. I'm very disappointed they moved it. That was my December planned watching.
I'm very excited for it though. It looks great. Looks great. Rich, man, thanks for coming on, brother. We'll catch up to you next time, and we'll see the rest of you guys on Friday. That's your show. There is no outro. See you guys then.